just kidding. What?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Whatever, Cam. Don't make me spill water tea everywhere.
Oh, man. So, no, yeah, we did choose, like, an interesting day to kind of do this. We didn't know. We didn't know Texas was going to be, like, in the championship game that I'm going to watch the entire time that we record. And
we didn't know they were going to have Hallelujah Fest downstairs.
Going to make weird sounds. Yeah, no doubt. Like, yeah, we chose.
I was like, blessed be the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. We should get them up here, see what they have to say about things. Nah, Mike. So we were telling
some random person.
Yeah, right. We were telling who was it? We were telling my man Jason for Thanksgiving. I went to his house, and he was like, "Yeah, I was listening to the show, and my mom walked in, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is Cameron and Peanut's podcast," and she was like, "Oh yeah, okay," and then she started listening. She was like, "Oh, they're nasty," immediately, right?
What part did she hear?
I don't know. Probably Peanut talking about one of his many wild nights with loose women.
That's this guy
you know
right
how
here.
He does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like, wait a minute. I know what that sounds.
Because I always have a smile on my face every morning.
Why?
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. South Kongress Podcast, episode 45. My name's Cameron.
And I'm Peanut.
We are joined by my man Mike O'Hara.
What up? What up?
So, having Mike on
real
this
quick,
thing,
hold on.
Oh, you got it.
Before we continue, you got to make sure you have me on 47 too.
Yes, it's very necessary. The 47th the Mike O'Hara episode.
There you go.
So yeah, basically, whenever I have Mike on, I'm doing something with Mike, I'm talking to Mike, I got to let people know, like, a big reason that this show is called the South Kongress Podcast is because of Mike. Basically, I
forgot about that.
Graduated college. I, was looking to fix things. I put on 100 pounds in college. I was like, I'm going to get back in shape. It's the first thing I'm going to do. Career Cam. So I go to 24 Hour Fitness and sign up for a membership, and Mike's there. And I haven't seen Mike since high school. It had been a long time. So we talked a little bit then. We ended up eventually linking at Doc's Restaurant on South Kongress. And we just sat down and talked. Like, it's interesting talking to somebody you know who's also a stranger, pretty much. Yeah. And we just kind of vibed for like a couple of hours. And, from there, it just became that thing where we're very different people growing up. You get to a certain point in adulthood, even if you're different people, just as men, even if you don't have similar experiences, you have similar ideas. You see the world kind of the same way. And the biggest thing is, I think we were just people who were looking to grow. And a big part of growing is knowing how the other half lives. And so just from there, like, we became real cool, worked on a bunch of projects together. And so, that moment was kind of my, what do I want to call it? It was kind of my adult moment. And, like, everybody goes to college. Not everybody, but, people go to college, they get married, they have kids, they do all kinds of stuff like that. It was kind of my, this is what it means to grow up. Like, this is what it means to start to figure out life. And the biggest thing was just, being cool with somebody and developing a relationship with somebody that you swore you didn't have anything in common with, and just finding out just how similar you were. And it was dope. And kind of from there, it was like the South Kongress thing, this part of town, this area, it just gave me a feel and a vibe that the world is bigger than what was on that campus. The world is bigger than 1604 in Calabria. It's just so many things that changed. So thanks, Mike.
Well,
appreciate it.
Well, what's crazy about it, man, is like, I think, like, I was at a crazy transition in my life at that time. I had just moved here, and what's even crazier is, like, I ran into I don't know how many people at that 24-hour fitness in Austin, not our hometown, a different city than we grew up in, and, like, a lot of the cats I was running into were people from, like, elementary school. I'm like, this is crazy, and I think if, when you say it was like your first adult moment or whatever, you want to call it, I think if anything, I appreciate you because I've had a lot of those, from you and just listening to you and being around you, and growing. And a big part, I think, that, and I'm going to take credit for this.
As you should.
Maybe giving you that moment was because you probably knew me or remember me as a jackass little hoodlum that I was, and I was coming out of that, and you were like, damn, he's got some goals. He's actually doing things, and like so. First and foremost, I remember you expressing that to me then, and at that time, and it still is for me at times to consider myself a good man, knowing the things that I had done in my past, and so I appreciate you and everybody that always and tells me, kind of reassures me, like, you're good, you're doing good things now, and like it's still hard for me to kind of, come to terms with that, because still knowing the things that I was capable of, back then. But no, thanks too, man.
Oh yeah,
and also I appreciate you having me on, even though I feel like the podcasts that I've done and the ones that I've done with you and the ones that I've done that I tried when I was kind of flirting with it, which I felt I did a pretty shitty job, and that's kind of when I've stopped. But thanks for having me on, even though I know I suck at this. So,
no,
so I
think
appreciate you having me back on, man.
And so it's kind of like a making the podcast show. So I think a big thing of what happened was, like, Mike has access to these really, really interesting people. Like, I just remember, I thought Jules is like the coolest person in the world with the things that she went through. But I think what happens is when you have to sort out your schedule and how busy you were at the time, I don't think you can sit down and prep an hour show. Like, you know what you want to talk about, but Mike doesn't have a free hour. Like, when we were setting up Mike coming here, Mike was like, I think I can make it. Okay, this thing got canceled. Okay, I'll be done right before you start. And so, like, what you should do, as we talk about, like, this is weird, this is so meta. What you should do, your show should be once a month. Since there's not a time constraint, you take a 15, 20 minutes to sit down, know exactly what you're going to talk about to somebody. Because, again, like, Mike has people on, like, we did the Daniel Jolly thing, which was great. And which, matter of fact, we're going to make sure we put links to that one and the other show in this show's notes. But we did the Daniel Jolly thing, and that was just mind-blowing. Like, just knowing where he came from martial arts as a kid, knowing what it's like to be the alpha of alphas, and then him getting to a situation where, oh God, everybody around here is as good as me, but they actually like being here too. Like, it was a fascinating conversation. And then, like, you training MMA fighters. Like, it's the coolest thing in the world. But again, I think that you'd be better served if, like, you don't do current events like me and Peanut, where we sit here and look at each other and make fun of the whole world. Like, that's a different thing. So, but yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll work that out. So the first thing we got to talk about, it's interesting. We made it a point to where we said, look, we're only going to do shows on weekends. We're going to make sure the show drops on Monday, and hopefully nothing happens between the time we record and the time the show drops, because then we're going to look crazy, right? So how about Kareem Hunt, man? Like, I want to lay it out for people. Kareem Hunt, second-year running back out of Toledo for the Kansas City Chiefs. Amazing talent, a revelation at running back. The perfect fit for an Andy Reid system. A guy who can run the ball, a guy who can catch the ball, just a stud. He gets drafted to Kansas City after they already took a risk on a Tyreek Hill, right? Who had, like, a big-time domestic violence issue. But they were like, that's in the past. We know we can work with this guy. It's not something we're afraid of happening again. Okay, fine. Let's not play morality police, right? But if I'm Kareem Hunt and I see that I have a teammate who flourishes and really got a chance that maybe he shouldn't have, I'm probably going to maybe not keep myself out of situations, but try to have some restraint when it comes to how I deal with women, just knowing that my partner, for lack of a better way of saying it, has dealt with this same thing. Now, the conversation I want to have, guys, is more so about the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs than it is Kareem Hunt. Because I did a Twitter poll. I said, okay, this video of Kareem Hunt in this hotel fighting through a guy to push a woman and kicking a woman when she's down.
I haven't seen the video. Peanut told me a little bit about it, but that's crazy.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And again, it's bad. It's not Mortal Kombat bad, but it's bad. And the worst part about it is it's not. You have these conversations where people say, you don't know what happens in other people's homes. You don't know exactly what led to two people scuffling. One person can fall. It looks a lot worse than it is. This is not that. This is people in a hallway, somebody trying to keep them apart, him fighting through them to get to this woman, him eventually spearing her to the ground, and then kicking her.
Holy shit!
Like this is it's crazy to watch.
Yeah.
So this happened in February. So this happened during the offseason. The Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL were made aware that something happened. What they said was the police wouldn't release the video and the hotel wouldn't release the video. They say they had a conversation with Kareem Hunt, and the story that he told is not what they ended up seeing. And so they see this on Friday. He's released on Friday.
Good.
Do you guys think that they really didn't see the video until Friday?
For their sake, I would hope that's the case, because if they had seen it this whole time, and then all of a sudden now they want to act like, trying to save face and okay, now we're going to release him because now it got leaked, through TMZ or whoever, then what does that say about your organization? What does that say about, really the quality of owners you have in this league? I mean, look at Dan Snyder picking up Reuben Foster right after his shit.
Well, let's one thing at a time.
Okay.
But yes, which is gross. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. The Reuben Foster thing is gross.
But then it's Dan Snyder. It's like at the end of the day, it's Dan Snyder.
Who is gross.
He's an asshole like that he's going to make a move like that.
See, I don't even know what happened with Reuben Foster either.
Reuben Foster was released from the 49ers for a domestic violence issue last week. And Washington claimed him off waivers.
The next day. Very next day.
Immediately.
Very next day.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I think it's out of sight, out of mind type of thing, until you see it. Like the same thing with Ray Rice. Like everybody heard about it and had an idea that he had struck this woman. I think it was his wife, right? Or his girlfriend.
It was his fiance at the time.
Okay. And then everybody saw the video. I think it was like months later, and then it was like, oh shit. When you see it, it's like, at what point do you? Is just the word, and that's the thing. It's such a fine line, and such a touchy subject that it's like, because women do make things up, but at the same time, in a situation like this, when there's evidence, there's tape, there's witnesses. Why do we have to see the tape for there to be such outrage? You know what I mean? Like Peanut said, I hope they haven't seen it, but at the same time, it's hard for me to believe in today's day and age, with everybody having so much access to everything, so easily accessible. Like, how did they just barely see it?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, it's weird for me to believe that the NFL, a $1 billion industry, can't obtain a video from a hotel.
Right.
I just feel like they have so much power and so much sway. Right. Anything that they're actually concerned with,
how
they can
hard
get a
were they
hold
really
of.
trying to?
Exactly, because we would have. My thing is, if they knew about it and we didn't, we've never heard, like we've never known this, then what does that say? Like, It does make it seem like they have a certain amount of access to information that we do not. So, yeah.
Yeah, because this is the first that we've heard about it at all, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the video release, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so they've known it. Yeah, nah, man.
Yeah.
There's something shady going on there.
Yep.
It's one of those things where the Chiefs, they're now like this dynamic team. They're coming out of nowhere. You got Patrick Mahomes. He's balling out.
He's a beast.
Yeah, like, he's crushing it.
Yeah.
Really the whole Saints team, they're crushing. They can't play a lick of defense, save their life, but, they're offensively. That's a different story at the as well. But they're crushing it. So obviously that's kind of like your cash cow. Them, the Rams, the Saints. They're your cash cow right now. So obviously, just like with any really anything like that, you're going to protect your cash cow.
Yeah, no doubt.
And unfortunately, unfortunately, it's kind of like this thing where money pretty much greater than everything.
Yeah, it is all about the money.
Yep.
Absolutely.